Hey there, everyone. How are you? I hope you're having a great day. Something I would like to do in the future is I would love to be invited to, these financial events where speakers get on stage and they try to help, either provide motivation or their story. And obviously, I've put a lot of content out there about real estate, specifically buy and hold real estate and the like. And I'd love to speak at more events. So if you know of an event that's coming up and you think I would be a great speaker for it, let me know or make a connection to a sponsor. But that said, I think there's a bigger story here. And, so what I thought I would do is I spent the last week or so putting together a keynote presentation. And I thought I would just record it for you. It is about 50 slides. So this could be a 50-minute presentation. It's not bullets on every slide like most of my presentations. It's just kind of one comment per slide. But I thought we would talk about it. So without giving too much away, let me share this with you and let's just see what you think. So what I'm doing is I'm proposing that this keynote presentation is about winning the adult game of life. Right. Hopefully now you're thinking, what is he talking about? This is kind of different. Good. I've really never done a presentation like this yet. So bear with me a few minutes and let's see where this goes. So first and foremost, I want to congratulate each and every one of you because whether you know it or not, you are playing the adult game of life. And we're going to break the adult game of life down here in a minute. But I have to ask you, how is the game going so far? How is your life going? Are you happy? Are you feeling content? Right? Are you stressed? Do you feel like the game is kicking your butt? Right? Where self-assess. And for me, it all comes down to being happy. Are you happy with where you are in life today? Or aren't you? It is kind of that binary decision. And frankly, too many people I speak with aren't happy. So that's really where this idea came from, because I don't think a lot of people realize that if they looked at life a little bit like a game, that they can make tweaks to their character, tweaks to what's going on, and perhaps I propose be happier. So first off, in the game of life, I believe winning means being happy. I don't think winning means a pile of money per se. I don't think winning means a certain kind of car or a certain kind of house or a certain number of kids. I don't think any of that. When we boil down winning to everyone, the only metric that matters, in my opinion, is being happy with who you are and where you are in life. If you are happy making $10 an hour, you are winning versus somebody who's making $100 an hour and is sucking the life juices out of them. Being happy is the only thing that you can equate. Again, I know plenty of people that are millionaires that are the most miserable people around. I swear they'd be happier if they weren't. How are you? Right? Realize that winning this game, this thing I call the adult game of life, the metric that matters is happy. And frankly, you are the only one that can control it. That should give you a level of control that maybe you haven't had before. You and you alone control how happy you are. Yes, your situation. Yes, all these other things. But let's walk through this presentation and see what other things you can control. For many people, this adult game of life is no fun. First off, because you didn't know you were playing it. You didn't know the rules. And worst off, you didn't realize that the game of adult life has started with a default setting. I know I didn't. My default setting said go to college, get a good job, make a lot of money so you can buy a lot of things. That was my default setting. What was your default setting? What did you come out of high school with? And that's really where I want this measure to be. When you came out of high school as a 17, 18, or 19-year-old, what was your default setting? Most people, many people, they were just defaulted to, well, I guess I go to college now. Okay, maybe that was the right decision, maybe not. But realize that you were given this game of life. When you turn 18, it is now yours. Before you were 18, for most of us, your parents at least had some impact on it. But when you're 18, the control is handed to you. You are now the operator of that character, which is, of course, yourself. But you are given it with default settings because, heck, you got to start somewhere. So you can think about it in video game context. I'm not a gamer, but I'm going to try my best, right? You have an avatar, right? That's who you are, your body, your health, your mind, all of that. You have some basic skills, right? You have some basic experiences. And the best part is you have the freedom to make choices. But most of us don't appreciate that fact. We just take the default settings and keep going to the next day, not realizing that that default setting can sometimes be a limiting factor and really be the cause of lots of our stress. But again, realize you are now the owner of the avatar, and you can make the changes in your own life and in your own game. If you don't make active choices, the game of life will make choices for you. Just because you aren't making choices, you still wake up every day, you still have to eat, you still have to pay your bills or suffer the consequences, right? The game of life is going to play with or without you making active choices. Again, you didn't pick the default setting. It was just set up and ready to go in case you didn't choose. Guess what? The game of life is set up in a way that you'll just meander through and take what happens if you don't proactively make active choices in the game of life. The game of adult life uses money throughout the game to force decisions and keep the game moving. Right? You make money with income, hours. You spend money on food, shelter, water, friendships, stuff. Money is that great lubricant that keeps the game going for all parties. Money in and of itself is a piece of paper and means nothing other than it could be a means of exchange for value between you and another player. So it is not about money. Remember this game, the winning game is happy. The score is happy. It's not money. Money is simply the lubricant that keeps the game moving. Money is earned and spent throughout the game by all players. All adult players in the game of life will be making and spending money. Some will make more than others. Some will spend more than others. Some will spend more than they make. Some will save some, right? But all players earn and spend money. They may earn it in legal ways. They may earn it in illegal ways. They may spend it thoughtfully. They may spend it irresponsibly. But money is always earned and spent by all players. Money can be used for nearly anything in the game that we are playing, but most spend it on small artificial bumps in happiness. We're starting to get real here, folks. Think about that new iPhone you bought or Samsung. Think about that latest latte. Think about the car. Think about the new clothes, the new whip, the new shoes. You probably got an artificial bump in happiness. You thought your happiness score went up, but in reality, it's artificial. Lots of you are doing this on debt. You have payments every month. You're paying it off at a high interest rate. You're not paying cash. Or if you are paying cash, you're taking, future value away because you couldn't invest it. We have a spending problem in this game of life, and it's there because it's easy. We all want to be happy. It's hard to be happy when you have to invest for 10 years and wait for the returns. I'm just going to go to the store and buy something. We're very consumer based. And too many of us are getting our little jolts of happiness from buying stuff we don't need, perhaps to impress people we don't even care about, which is so sad. Money can be saved. You don't have to spend it all. And it can be invested to produce more money, but it is not a requirement of the game. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was the first person to introduce this concept to me of passive income through real estate. I was 30 years old. Nobody in my family had ever done anything or taught me about this. Changed my life. I had no problem seeing the beauty in saving and living conservatively. Heck, I grew up with not a lot of money, so it was okay. But the ability to buy something that appreciated, that had tax savings and produced income that somebody else would pay for over time was like game changing to me. So with the game of life and the ability to save and invest so my money can make more money in the future is awesome. There's only a handful of people in any game that around you playing it at this level. You can play this part of the game if you choose to. It takes sacrifice, being conservative, not keeping up with the Joneses, making hard decisions, understanding need versus want. But if you want to win the game of life, which again means being happy, maybe this is something you should consider. I think you need to understand that the default setting for anyone that's 18 and over is 40-40. What is 40-40? The default setting says you are going to work 40 hours for 40 years. I think that is a terrible default setting and you deserve better. But most of you are doing nothing except spending. You're spending too much. Too many consumers, right? So just realize the adult setting of 40-40 can be changed. It can be evolved. In the adult game of life, there are consequences for choices or lack of choices. If you are not saving and investing in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, your 60s and beyond are going to be rough. There's a very small subset of people that can save a meaningful 401k balance so that it takes care of their later years. If you choose to take your high income years and just spend it all, your chances of being as happy in your last 40 years as you were in your first 40 are not great. Remember, the game of life is your total happiness score when you exit. Maybe you're happy in your 40s, but will you be happy in your 60s? There are consequences from overspending on things you don't need for people you don't like. Consequences for the 40-40 life and the default mode mean you have little time and little money for little extras. I read some horrible things when I was researching this keynote speech. Did you know that the average full-time employee, family man, family woman, spends 40 minutes a day of quality time with their kids? The actual number was 37 minutes, but I rounded up to 40. Lots of us say that we are trying to work for our family to have a better future, but you're going to waste 20 years seeing them for 40 minutes a day. And then when they're 20, they don't want anything to deal with you. How backwards is that? And then what happens with a little money, right? You do all this 40-40, a default setting. Are you going to live on 40% of your income when you retire? How is that going to make you happy? How is that going to give you the little extras? The default mode of 40-40 in the adult life is a sucker's game. Don't settle. You're better than that. Also, this game of adult life, this game of life, gives you a network of friends. These are your players. They're just in your life because of location, because of job, because of school. You can choose to interact with them or you can change them. Most of us, myself included, don't do a good job of evolving their network. Right? If you really get after this and want to meet and grow, get around people that stretch you and push you. That is how you win the game of life. Don't be the smartest friend or the richest friend in your small network. That doesn't help. Push yourself, get uncomfortable, think bigger. Choices in this game of life can always be changed, right? You could choose to go one direction and later go a different direction. However, the consequences last, but new choices can be made. For example, if you go down the path of overspending, like I did until I was 30, I could change and be more conservative, on my 30th birthday and start saving some income, live on 90%, live on 80%, live on 70. But my 20s, they're gone. Any income I had then is gone. Sure, I could sell a toy or two, but it's nothing compared to what I had. So the consequences are done and had, but I can make a change, and I did. And I suggest some of you look at making changes as well. This game lets you make choices at any age, that being happy is not age specific. What makes you happy when you're 20 versus 30 versus 50 versus 60 might be different. But when happiness is the score, you and you alone have the freedom to say what makes you happy. You and you alone could decide to make changes. You could decide to make different choices. You could decide to change your network. If you really appreciate that being happy is the game of life and how you win, what would you do different? The game of life is really accumulation of being happy the longest or the most. When you really break it down to that level and you take money off the table and toys and silliness, try to sit back and ask yourself what makes you happy and see what you can do to be happy longer. Here's the deal. The adult game of life doesn't tell you or define what happiness is. Every player has to decide that for themselves. For some people, maybe it's the game of business like Gary Vee, and you're willing to work 120 hours a week or whatever it is, and it is fun for you. Maybe for others like Mother Teresa, it is sacrificing and helping others. Anywhere in between. No one can judge what makes you happy. And again, what makes you happy can change and evolve. Don't make your decisions on anybody else's happiness score. Understand, evaluate, and ask yourself what makes you happy. Happiness is tricky. We don't talk about it. We don't think about it as a score, right? We've gotten addicted to little caffeine shots of happiness by buying stuff. Oh, look, you got new shoes. You got a new dress. You got a new haircut, right? You went on this trip. I see this picture on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You get those little endorphin rushes. That's a sucker's game. Really, really step back and ask yourself, what makes you happy? One rule of thumb I have is negative consequences come fast and positive consequences take time. For example, if you go out and decide to blow a bunch of money on a new car, you have the new car, you're happy for a minute, but the consequences of that $40,000 are gone immediately. However, if you decide to invest that $40,000 in an index fund or a piece of real estate, it could take you a decade for you to reap any meaningful returns. So realize that negative and positive returns come in different forms. Negative is immediate and positive takes time. This time exchange for positive consequences is the big twist of the game. We want to be happy now. We want it now. I'm sorry. This game of life is tricky. It takes time. It's not everybody can do it. You have to sacrifice. We sacrificed for 15 years with no promise. But once you've got your monthly nut covered, it's much easier to be happy. Back to your avatar, the you and you in this. Time to take inventory of you. Where are you? Where are you in the game? Where are you in your network? Do you even know what makes you happy? Have you thought about being happy? If you're not, why not? What could you change to be happy? Ask yourself some hard questions. Again, I think the first question is simple, and that is what makes you happy? And it's funny, if you would have asked me what made me happy in my 20s, it would have been different than my 30s and certainly different than my 40s. So ask yourself this question all the time. Ask your significant other. Ask. Let's talk about being happy. Seriously, step one, do you know what makes you, not somebody else, you happy at your core? For me, at least this year, it's creating content that hopefully impacts lives. I love seeing the thumbs up. I love seeing the comments. I love seeing subscriptions grow. That is my endorphins. The comments, everything is wonderful. I really feel like we're making a little dent in making some people's lives better. That's what makes me happy today. That's what I'm going to keep doing. And if it changes, I'll stop. But I'm happy today. Maybe it's helping sheltered pets. Maybe it's teaching kids. Maybe it's living on a beach, drinking a margarita in a foreign country. I don't know. Heck, maybe it's working your 40-hour job. Maybe you're Gary Vee and you just love the game of business. Great. Don't judge anybody else for being happy. Let them be them and you be you. Remember, the game of life is about the biggest happiness score or being happiest the longest. Please think about what makes you being happy. Think about the things that are the consequences that take it away. And let's have some honest discussions. As you go through the game of life, what makes you happy can change, and thus choices should change. This, when you don't have kids and you're in your 20s, one thing will make you happy. You have kids in your 30s, something else will make you happy. Totally okay. You don't have to make one lifelong decision on what makes you happy. The game of life is flexible. It's fun. It allows you to make changes, so make them. Once you understand what makes you happy, you must go back to the default mode of your avatar. In this game, positive consequences take time. So if what makes you happy requires $4,000 a month passive income, realize you're going to have a decade or so of working for something and working and investing and saving and living below your means. But that's because positive consequences take time. They're not immediate like negative consequences. What most people want, or at least they tell me they want, is freedom. They want freedom to make choices outside of the demands of this crazy 40-40 life. Lots of people see the 40-40 life of 40 hours for 40 years as being a bad option, but they're doing nothing about it. They recognize the default mode, but do nothing about it. If you want something different than life's 40-40 setting, you and you alone must make some choices. To exit the 40-40 life, one must create income outside of the day job. For most of us, we work the 40-40 life to pay bills for things we buy and spend and need. What if you can do a side hustle and create income outside of your day job, such as passive income from real estate? Most critical choices to consider is spending while you're in the 40-40 life. If you can stay in the 40-40 life, but live on 50% of your income, your chances of getting out are pretty good. Maybe you work a 40-20. You work 40 hours for 20 years, and you just bought 20 years of freedom. Living below your means is the key to getting out of the 40-40 life. You must earn more than you spend. And the longer you do that, and the more you save, the more you invest, the better your chances. Increasing your income helps the game, but it is fool's gold for most players. I know plenty of people that used to make 50 grand that now make 100 grand that spend it all anyways. This is not a game of income, certainly not a game of active income. So realize that just because you have a high income or you get a raise, it doesn't mean you're going to be happy. You must earn, save, invest, repeat to exit early. It is really that simple. If you want out of the 40-40 life, you must earn, save, invest, repeat. Highly recommend that you get crystal clear on needs versus wants. This is hard. It's hard to say no to your wants. But if you can cover your needs on 50% of income, your chances are great of getting out. Once you know your why, and again, your why is what makes you happy, understand that saving is what leads to passive income. You can really start to make some really cool decisions. I believe the best side hustle, right? This thing you do outside of the 40-40 life is one rental at a time. Low stress, turnkey, so it's already remodeled, cash flow day one. Your tenants are paying 70% of the asset for you. You get some tax savings with depreciation. There are others, go for it. But that's what I think is the best. So in the end, that's what I have to say about the adult life. Let me know what you think. Leave comments below. Thank you very much.